The Philadelphia Eagles will return to the Super Bowl in 2023. The Eagles' offseason started off not so promising, but they recovered fast by signing several defensive studs and dominating the 2023 NFL Draft. I'm Chase Keller, and tune into this dive of the Philadelphia Eagles, why I believe they will finish 13-4, and how they came up in second in my 2023 NFL Power Rankings. Just a disclaimer as we enter into this video, I recorded this video on Friday, August 25th, and it's going up on Sunday, August 27th. With roster cuts looming, some of the information in this video may be a little off. Still, I hope you enjoy. The elevation of Jalen Hurts and a truly dominating run-first offense brought this team to new heights last season. For that reason, many talents showed massive improvements, allowing this offense to be ranked second going into the 2023 season. Only behind the Kansas City Chiefs, let's discuss this offense. At quarterback, Jalen Hurts had a very dominant 2022 in both the air and on the ground. At least for me, I was expecting improvement, but nothing as drastic as what we got. Hurts truly showed top 2 quarterback abilities, but with only that one season showing greatness, he falls as the NFL's 4th best quarterback. Let's split up passing and rushing here for Jalen Hurts. As a passer, Hurts made massive leaps and bounds to be ranked as a top passer across the league. It starts with his heavy increase in reliability as a passer. In 2021, he was a little risky with his throws, often throwing into tight coverage without developing passing traits. As for 2022, he not only jumped his yards per attempt from 7.3 to 8, but his turnover-worthy play percentage dropped from 3.3 to a whopping 1.9, the NFL's 2nd best behind Justin Herbert. On film, it's very clear that Hurts developed in terms of IQ, progressions, and honestly, overall attributes. He's finally been able to rocket a ball downfield with elite efficiency and accuracy. As a runner, I do feel that Hurts' ability to run the football was manipulated by the offensive scheme, but that's not to underestimate what he can do on the ground. He's a physical runner with decent elusiveness and vision, and it's no secret that he was the best QB sneak guy in the NFL last season. A majority of his 13 rushing touchdowns from last season came within 5 yards of the goal line. Even then, he was still a very nice rusher last season, and we should all expect that to continue for 2023. With all of this being said, I do believe that Hurts is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, and if he continues this production and efficiency, he should continue to rise going into next season. Moving on to the running backs here, the room did take a slight decline for this season. Losing Miles Sanders is a big part of that, but still, this room maintains average ratings. The new RB1 is DeAndre Swift, and I do have questions about how much volume he is actually going to receive. When healthy last season, he ran the ball 99 times and caught the ball 48, a reception to rush ratio that nearly tops the NFL. At this point, we are going to have to wait until a couple weeks into the season to realize what DeAndre Swift's role is going to be. Swift could be used as a gadget player in this Philly offense, but that could easily ruin the potential of Kenneth Gainwell. Gainwell is efficient when given the opportunity, but that's the issue. He isn't given the opportunity often. It was looking like you would finally see it with the loss of Miles Sanders, but adding both DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny will once again slow down his development. Penny is sandwiched between the 2 running backs already mentioned, and when healthy, he's actually pretty lethal. Keywords, when healthy. He's put together a grand total of 789 snaps in his first 5 seasons in the NFL. But oh boy, when he's healthy, he can run that damn ball. Onto the wide receiver core, they receive an elite tab with their 2 superstar wide receivers. With okay depth, it's not the best group in the NFL, but it's pretty close. Beginning with A.J. Brown, he did not disappoint in his first season as an Eagle. 1,500 yards on 137 targets, 11 touchdowns, and 17 yards per reception combined to put together a top 3 wide receiver year last season. Brown is a mixture of everything: short down efficiency, red zone efficiency, and deep ball efficiency. You wouldn't think he'd be efficient everywhere given his size, but man, is he a force to be reckoned with. Devontae Smith is wide receiver 2 in this offense, and if he was wide receiver 1, he would shine nearly as much as Brown. He actually had more receptions on 5 less targets, and with 1,200 yards, his future is looking bright. Smith is a top-tier route runner who is pretty good at getting open deep. He's also a pretty good open field threat with the shiftiness and the physicality to shed defenders off of him. I honestly think he's a more intriguing player when compared to Brown going into this season. The depth here is as follows. Olamide Zaccheaus is a pretty good wide receiver 3 option who has shown decent efficiency and consistent development to start his career. Kez Watkins, on the other hand, is inconsistent. He shows some great flashes, don't get me wrong, but at his average, he's a wide receiver 5 at best. The Eagles did just sign Freddie Swain, who I'm not sure if he'll make the 53-man roster, and if he doesn't, I do apologize. But with that being said, I do think he is the better wide receiver 5 option when compared to a guy like Greg Ward. Going forward, the tight end room here is an elite one. They have the NFL's 3rd best tight end along with some good developmental pieces that should be fine if tight end 1 Dallas Goedert goes down. Goedert is a guy I have loved for years, even when Zach Ertz was in Philly. While Goedert isn't a great blocker, he's one of the NFL's best receiving tight ends. Goedert has yet to have a flashy year, with his career highs currently being 830 yards and 5 touchdowns in a single season. He's quite possibly the most efficient receiving tight end in the NFL, so hopefully that flashy year comes very soon. Behind Goedert, I'm under full expectation that Dan Arnold misses the roster. With my rating system, he is currently tight end 2 as he was a 74 just 2 years ago. If he's going to miss the roster, let's just skip him then. Talking about Grant Calcaterra, he doesn't have a high ceiling as a receiver, but I've always liked him as a reliable option ever since his Oklahoma days. As a receiver, he is pretty athletic in the open field and is pretty decent at finding separation. As a blocker, he doesn't particularly have the size or the strength, but he does have the technique that makes up for it. Finally, the offensive line is a great one yet again. It could be elite, but again, the rating system strikes as several of these pieces are getting close to retirement. The left side of the line is not suffering from that. Jordan Mailata has shined in his first 3 active seasons as he works as a great combo blocker, and with how fast he's developed, he could be a superstar left tackle by next season. Next up is Landon Dickerson, a draft selection that I found as phenomenal in the 2021 draft. Dickerson is a workhorse on the inside, being one of the strongest guards in the NFL. He doesn't particularly show that in his game though, and his recovery technique often leads to penalties instead of good recoveries. One of these aging guys is Jason Kelce, who has been in retirement rumors for such a long time now. Even though he still may be in his prime, it's a tough situation. It is so hard to talk negative on the NFL's 2nd best center. Kelce is such a dominant run blocker with great knockback abilities, and overall he is so good at holding his own. The second man close to retirement is Lane Johnson, sitting at 33 years old. He's in the same situation as Kelce. He may be getting old, but we are watching the prime of Lane Johnson. He's been the complete opposite of Kelce, being one of the best pass blockers in the NFL. He hasn't allowed a sack since 2020. Over the last 2 seasons, he's allowed a combined 20 pressures. He's elite. The offensive coaching was elite in 2022, but with a change at offensive coordinator, it's looking like Nick Sirianni is going to lead this offense this upcoming season. Last season, Sirianni and new Indianapolis head coach Shane Steichen kind of co-ran the offense. With Steichen gone, Sirianni will return to running his pro spread offense that heavily benefits the quarterback. The play calling last year consisted of a lot of runs and designed quarterback runs especially, but this year, we may see more passes out of Hurts. Not only is this due to a scheme shift, but it is also due to the league starting to figure out Hurts and his capabilities on the ground. To summarize, the Birds' offense is looking elite on paper yet again. If head coach Nick Sirianni can help develop this offense with the help of offensive coordinator Brian Johnson, this offense is going to be elite. Last season, the Eagles' defense finished 8th in points allowed and 2nd in yards allowed. For a moment, It seems as if this would go away after the losses of Javon Hargrave, TJ Edwards, and CJ Gardner-Johnson. And sure, while this defense could have been near the top if those guys were still in Philly, this defense still ends up in the top 5. Let me explain. The edge rusher room here has been the deepest in the NFL for years now. With veterans coming and going, it seems like this may be the least deep that it's been in a while. Spoiler alert, it's still a very deep room. Starting with Hassan Reddick, the Eagles really found themselves a stud here. He has been an underrated guy off the edge before joining Philly, where they have been able to utilize him best and show the world how good he really is. Reddick was one of the NFL's best pass rushers last season, putting together 68 pressures, 40 hurries, and an NFL's second best 16 sacks. He was an awful tackler last year, which is a little concerning, but it looks like an outlier when you look at the stat sheet. He should continue to develop in hopes of being a top 10 edge rusher by next season. One overall point behind him is veteran Brandon Graham. The last 2 seasons have either displayed injuries or a limited snap count, but he's crazy efficient no matter how much he plays. Last season, he put together 1 pressure every 6.1 pass rush snaps and 1 run stop every 14 run defense snaps. One overall point behind Graham is Josh Sweat, a guy who is projected to possibly start on the inside given how deep this group actually is. 2022 was a pretty big breakout year for Josh Sweat, as he put together 11 sacks and was very effective in run defense. If Sweat does continue to develop, he should be the fill-in starter for Brandon Graham by next year. Not so fast. Nolan Smith was drafted in this recent NFL draft, and he has extremely high upside to be great. I scouted him as a boomer bust prospect who heavily struggles with consistent technique. Yet, he is so athletic off the edge that he can rack up production solely off that. Oh, and can I mention that this interior defensive line also has some crazy depth year in and year out? This year isn't as impressive as it normally is, but all 3 of these starters deserve the spot that they are in. Beginning with rookie Jalen Carter, one of 2 2023 draft prospects that I project make the Hall of Fame. While off-the-field issues clog Carter's reputation, it should be known that he is still one hell of a football player. Carter is a do-it-all interior guy with great athleticism, play strength, technique, and great body control. The only on-field concern that I mentioned is that he has no on-field concerns. It almost feels like he's too good to be true. Lining up next to him at nose tackle is fellow Georgia prospect Jordan Davis. He played only 225 snaps last season, but his efficiency in those snaps, especially in the run, helped bring him from a 73 to a 75. Davis is a great run defender who is pretty good at the line of scrimmage, but not too good past it. His ceiling isn't too high given his lack of athleticism, so I had him at an early 2nd round talent last year. Fletcher Cox is still playing at a high level, but his backwards development and age becoming a concern has brought him down to a 78. Nonetheless, he is still a very solid pass rusher for a defensive tackle. The linebacker group is a step in the wrong direction for this defensive rating. By losing TJ Edwards and Kaiser White, this room is going to depend on the development of Nakobe Dean. Dean fell in the 2022 NFL draft over health concerns, but in the 2 games where he played double-digit snaps, he was heavily efficient in coverage, allowing 3 receptions on 3 targets for only 12 yards. Dean is an athletic linebacker, and his film at Georgia really sold me on him as a prospect. Hopefully he can continue to fly around the field as efficient as he did at Georgia up to the next level. Dean receives breakout grade number 1 on this roster, and there is 1 breakout grade left, so stay tuned. After Dean, it was supposed to be Myles Jack, but after recently retiring, it will be Zach Cunningham, who was picked up at the same time as Jack. Cunningham is a guy to watch out for this season, and he is finally getting another opportunity to start. Why am I hyping up Zach Cunningham so much? Well, when he starts, he is a great run defender. In 2020 and 2021, he was top 3 in run stop percentage out of all linebackers who played over 150 run defending snaps. Hopefully he can cover the run defense aspect in this linebacker group, as Nicholas Morrow is not a great run defender, and he is really the only guy who can compete with Cunningham for the 2nd linebacker job. Moving into the secondary, we nearly have an elite positional group on this defense. Instead, it falls just short and hits the great tier. It's primarily because this group is another group with heavy depth. So let me explain. Darius Slay's rating may seem low, I understand, but I only like his coverage game. Given that coverage is obviously the most important trait in a quarterback, Slay is still a star player. Slay can keep up with his assignment no matter the player and no matter the route. He's there. I do think he could improve on preventing the yards after the catch, but other than that, he's pretty good at everything else coverage-wise. James Bradbury's signing for some reason was controversial. Sure, he may have cost the Eagles a final shot at the Super Bowl, but at his best play, he's a top 5 cornerback in the NFL. Obviously, he isn't always at his best play, but even at his average play, he deserves to start. In 2022, he allowed a completion percentage of only 46%, along with allowing only 2 touchdowns to 12 pass breakups. That is some great efficiency right there. The second string cornerbacks are either starting worthy or will develop into starting worthy corners. Avonte Maddox is really only impactful in the slot, but when he's there, he's a lockdown defender on short and medium routes. As for Kelee Ringo, he's got a lot of upside with his combination of play strength and athleticism. He is a little undisciplined and overly aggressive, but if he can improve on that, he will be on his way to becoming a lockdown outside corner. Finally, we got the safety room. I'm not a massive fan of this group right here, and losing both CJ Gardner-Johnson and Marcus Epps will do that to you. Yet, the upside is absolutely here. Beginning with Terrell Edmunds, it's safe to say that Philly at least tried to replace CJ. Edmunds isn't really great at anything, but he's consistent enough in both skill set and play to earn a starting position. Let's move on to my second and final breakout grade in Reed Blankenship. I only saw him as a 7th round pick talent last season, and he absolutely proved me and everyone else wrong. Coming out of Middle Tennessee, he was seen as an out-of-control player who wasn't that great in coverage. He proved that statement wrong last year, and quickly became a starter in one of the NFL's best defenses last season. He was great everywhere on the field, and I'm expecting that to continue in 2023. I think he becomes a star player very quick. The rookie Sidney Brown is another guy to watch for in this secondary, as he's a nice physical option who is good at both run defense and coverage. The defensive coaching also changed on this roster. Out with Jonathan Gannon, and even though Gannon was one of the better defensive coordinators in the NFL, they barely downgraded with Sean Desai. Desai is an uncertainty in terms of scheme. He can do whatever he wants with personnel, but fans should expect a closed-in alignment with physicality all around. Desai likes to pressure the quarterback uniquely, but it's really uncertain whether he will blitz a bunch or not. He could also place different players at different positions, a couple unique scenarios being Nolan Smith at linebacker and Jalen Carter off the edge. Overall, we will see what Desai does to this defense very soon. To summarize, the Philly defense did lose a few stud defenders, but they recovered through a couple additions and still retains top 5 ability. Let's see if they can keep the same success for 2023. Before I end every video, I go over the rating splits for offense, defense, special teams, coaching, and overall team. If you are interested in how the rating system works, it is in the description below. Starting with the offense, they received an 82.01, which is second in the NFL, first in the NFC, and obviously first in their division. The defense received a 76.34, which is fifth in the NFL, second in the NFC only behind San Francisco, and first in their division. The special teams came out at a 72.65, which is 12th in the NFL, 5th in the NFC, and second in the NFC East. And coaching came out at an 8 out of 10 or a 78 out of 80, which was tied for 11th in the NFL, tied for 6th in the NFC, and second in the NFC East. As an overall team, they come out at a 78.48, which is first in their division, first in the conference, and second in the NFL. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Soon I have season content coming out, and after that, we're going to get into draft season and talking about rankings for each position. So if you want to see that, subscribe to the channel. Once again, I'm Chase Keller from Chase Keller Journalism, and thank you guys so much for choosing this channel as your source of sports coverage. I'll see you guys in the next video.